but in our collection alone, we have around 8 to 10 Model Ts of different stylings.
Wow. And does that include all of the fun ones, like, you know, okay. All right. All right. So my next question that I had actually from someone that sent in a question about you doing the series. What is the process to try and create something? Because I know I've seen the process for, you know, on our end for doing a single video or something like that. Sure. But how do you even approach doing, you know, 9 full episodes? And how do you do it in a place like this where there's always something moving, always something turning over?
Yeah, well, I mean, it had its challenges. To answer the question about how you would do a video, and we'll get a little bit more specific, but you write a script, you shoot it, and then you edit it. Essentially, you make a video 3 times. You have a concept, you execute that concept, and then you put it all together and see what it looks like. You're right, there were challenges doing that here. There is always something going on. I think the one that, so if you may recall, when we were in production, when we were filming this, it is a great location to do all 3 parts of the video making process here with a controlled environment, except for one thing. We're near an airport. And we fly our own aircraft here too. So there are a number of takes, like this is, for example, this is take 2. It didn't work the first time with the live stream. There are takes where we'll be in the middle of a conversation and you'll hear an aircraft taking off next door, and you just got to stop and wait until that sound goes away so we can keep doing it.
Right. Yeah, no, that's true. Mm-hmm. So follow-up question, sorry. Speaking of things always happening here. Follow-up question is when we're talking about this being about the Model T and such, mm-hmm. What are people going to learn? What are they going to see? What's going to... Is this going to be like a driver's ed situation?
It's kind of a combination of things. It's, you know, this museum's approach has often been one of hands-on experiences. And so this journey that we take with the Model T is trying to learn how to drive one. And through learning how different it was, we also get into the history of it. There are interviews with a lot of experts, folks on staff and volunteers who have had experience with the Model T and the history of it. And so we kind of go piece by piece through it. And I think one thing that we hinted at in the trailer is that it wasn't the first car. So we start right at the beginning of some of these common assumptions that, well, the Model T's over 100 years old, it has to have been the first car, and that's just not true. And we go into some more of the details about that and unravel some common misconceptions. But there's also that hands-on aspect of it, because the Model T is in the 20th century, 21st century.
Did you know, so obviously I know that there was probably a lot of research that went into this, reaching out to different members of staff and volunteers. Did you think that you were going to learn as much as you did if you learned something? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I learned a lot more than I expected to learn about the Model T, about what it takes, going back to that previous question, about what it takes to film a scripted series at this location. Like the aircraft thing, I didn't really expect until it started happening on a regular basis. But the way, if this is an indicator, the way we wrote the script, there is scripted parts of it, there's scripted humor, but there are also situations like this where I would sit down with an expert and have a list of questions, and they would just give me an answer without me having, I've prompted them, but I haven't written their response. So through that, yeah, that's it. That's the answer to that question.
There's definitely a lot of people here at OHTM who like to talk about Model Ts. Mm-hmm. I've learned that, and I didn't do a series about it. But what I can say is, I guess from watching you do the series and, just learning about it, from helping package it and things like that, is that for one of the more simple cars, there is so much behind it, as opposed to, when I get in a Toyota Prius, sorry, Rob, when I get in a Toyota Prius, the story behind it is so much about the features and about what it has, or rather what it doesn't have, you know. But with the Model T, it seems like there's so much about it that truly is about what it brought to people and, you know, how it came to be in the way that it did. Which for a brief yet humorous backstory.
Sorry, you cut out there for a second in the middle.
It seems like it's well suited for a series, even though, you know, we don't have the same sort of air conditioning, you know, lumbar support, hospital grade air filtration system. Yeah. We don't have the same features to talk about, but there's a lot more history to talk about.
There is, yeah, there's a lot there. They are in some ways very simple machines, in other ways very complicated. I don't really want to give too much away from the series, but it was it was both its simplicity and what you could do with that machine itself that led to it being in production for as long as it was, and ultimately why it had to be changed.
So let's move into something that is a little bit different. Obviously, even when we see something, you know, out there on YouTube, and there's one person in front of the camera, there's a lot more people behind it. So everything we do here is a community effort at OHTM. Talk about the crew that you had available.
This was an incredible crew to work with. It was, as I said, it's staff members, it was volunteers, and our co-producer, Laura E. Dickey, also helped write the script.
And the animation.
And the animation that you'll see
fun.
Is one of the promotions that we did, and at the beginning of, I think, just about every episode was done by Laura. A great crew to work with, and I think the interesting thing was, because this was a staff of, you know, staff and volunteers whose roles are not necessarily related to video, having folks step in front of the camera was, I think, for some people a really big. Everybody brought their personality to it, and it really, like, the series in its entirety is a shining example of what we can do when we put our heads together.
One thing that obviously is the elephant in the room, not in my room because my office is tiny, but no, but obviously you filmed this last year.
Yes.
And part of the release of this was, we're going out on schedule, but when you started this, you weren't anticipating coronavirus.
No.
Which is something that I think is important to mention, because we're watching what other museums are doing around the world. And this seems like it was almost kismet. Not that you could have predicted it, but do you feel that this is kind of, or the way museums should kind of head in the direction, you know, more interpretive digital content?
Absolutely. Interestingly enough, and you did put it that way to some extent, it's really great that we had this project. You know, a lot of museums are doing a lot of digital content, and the fact that we had this in the can on, I think, October 12th, 2019.
What does in the can mean?
It means that it means that we'd filmed the entire series. It gave us a number of months to take the footage and put it all together into what you're going to be seeing over the coming weeks.
I got you. It means something different in marketing. It means I've thrown something away. So.
Oh, interesting.
Different, different professions, professional professions. So sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine. It was originally, it is part of to be opening in June, visiting Vacation Land, and the component was the Model T aspect of it. But because of the digital release, it'll be released over a number of weeks and everything like that. But yeah, I think this is a great direction for museums to be heading in, and I think you'll find that the content is engaging and humorous.
So going back to the crew that you worked with, and and we won't keep folks too long because I know folks followed us over from our last, our last attempt. But we do appreciate it. And this is not a great advertisement for all of the crew that I will be trying to get onto Livestream, but we will hardwire in on in a different way. But so, because you were primarily in this series, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So you'd mentioned Laura Dickey, yep, as co-producer.
Yep.
Was she behind? Was that difficult for you as the person who normally creates the videos for the museum? Was that difficult to let go a little bit?
Yes, perhaps a little bit. That said, this was the second summer that Laura had worked with us. And in her first summer, she learned a lot of the basics, not just the basics of videography.
She was originally a marketing intern.
Yep.
Yeah,
she gravitated towards the moving pictures department, so to speak. So she had learned a lot of the basics of not only video itself, but the way we do video here with the equipment that we have access to. So if I was going to hand the camera off to anybody, it would have been her. And it was.
Oh, that's wonderful. What about me?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Oh, well, Daryl, I can't ask that. We had a friend of the museum reach out, and fine, I'll just ask. Do you have a folding chair?
Oh, with the director name on the back? No, I don't.
Because everyone kind of thinks that that's what you're supposed to have.
Yeah, I don't have one of those. And I'm pretty sure you have the bullhorn, if I'm not mistaken.
So just to wrap up, and mention what you talked about with visiting vacation land.
Want me to go into that a little bit more?
Well, I'm more interested, yes, but I'm more interested in wondering, how, when we're talking about Maine specifically as a state, mm-hmm, right? Do we talk about how Model Ts in Maine, does that at all, or is that a story that perhaps is a good conversation for a future live stream?
I think that might be a good conversation for a future live stream. I will touch on it just very briefly. I had mentioned that, the Model T as an automobile did not have a lot of features, but what it did do was allow innovative owners to repurpose the Model T for a number of really interesting and creative designs, needs, and whatnot.
Sounds like Maine all over.
And that Maine ingenuity is in one of those episodes, and I think we ought to save that as a specific topic for another one. But yes, it's very much related to the Model T and Maine as well. So
we'll wrap up now. I appreciate you bearing with us, and anyone in the audience. I appreciate you guys bearing with us. We will try again and persevere for our next live stream next week with a new special. Closing remarks, because obviously our first digital drop happens today at 2 p.m. We are going to be releasing episode 1, and then every week subsequently for 9 weeks, which is really exciting. It's a little bit like Netflix, but shorter and free. So there's that. But closing remarks, Tom. What if people are going to tune in today at 2 or when they get off work later? What is one thing that you want to say about episode 1 that for people to keep in mind as they watch?
No one was injured during the process of filming episode 1. Tune in at 2, like Sophie had mentioned. It'll be free on YouTube. And that's pretty much all I got. That's all I'm willing to say about it at this point. I just hope you guys enjoy it.
No fun. All right. So next time we will have a more fun special guest who says more interesting things and says more interesting stuff.
Cut.
Thanks, guys.